What would you do if the richest man in the room laughed at you, thinking you weren't smart enough to understand him? Tonight's story is about a young waitress who shocked everyone, including a powerful CEO, when she translated something he thought nobody could. What happened next changed her entire life, and his too. It was a cold Friday night in the bustling city, the kind of evening where restaurants buzzed with chatter, glasses clinked, and tired waitresses ran from one table to the next. Among them was Emily, a 21-year-old waitress with tired eyes but a soft smile. She wasn't like the others. She wasn't working there because she wanted extra pocket money. She was working because life had pushed her into it. Her father was bedridden after an accident at work, her mother had passed years ago, and Emily had two younger siblings waiting at home for the little money she brought back every night. College had been a dream she had once cherished, but now it felt like a faraway world she no longer belonged to. That night, Emily carried a tray of drinks toward the far corner of the restaurant, where a group of men in suits sat laughing loudly. They weren't ordinary customers, anyone could tell. Their watches shone under the dim lights, their words dripped with power, and their body language screamed confidence. At the head of the table sat a man everyone seemed to look toward for approval. He was James Carter, the CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the country, a man whose face had appeared in magazines and on TV screens. Emily had heard of him but never thought she'd serve him food. When she placed the glasses on their table, James glanced at her, smirked, and said in a low voice to his friends, "She looks like she could barely finish high school. Watch this." Then, turning to Emily, he spoke fluently in Mandarin, a language most of the waitresses would have never understood. His friends chuckled, shaking their heads. Finally, James leaned back in his chair and said in English, laughing, "Translate this and I'll give you my salary for the month." His friends roared with laughter, certain that Emily would blush, stammer, and walk away embarrassed. But Emily didn't flinch. She had grown up loving languages, spending her nights teaching herself from free online resources, library books, and old second-hand guides. While life had taken away her chance to study formally, her hunger for knowledge had never left her. Slowly and clearly, Emily repeated every single word James had just spoken in perfect Mandarin and then translated it back into flawless English. The laughter around the table died. Forks stopped midair. James sat frozen, his smirk replaced with wide-eyed shock. Nobody had expected this quiet young waitress to understand, let alone translate so smoothly. Emily stood still, holding her tray, her heart pounding, but her voice calm. "Was that accurate enough?" she asked softly. For a moment, the CEO said nothing. Then, slowly, he leaned forward, studying her as if she were a mystery he had never encountered before. Finally, he let out a laugh, not mocking this time, but stunned, genuine, impressive, he admitted. "Where did you learn that?" Emily shrugged lightly. "Books, online lessons, whenever I had the chance." She didn't mention the nights she had stayed up after double shifts, whispering foreign words under her breath while her siblings slept beside her, or the hunger she felt to one day travel the world, something she'd buried deep under her responsibilities. James couldn't stop staring. He was a man who had spent years building an empire, surrounded by the most educated, the most skilled, the most ambitious people. And yet here was a young woman, working as a waitress, who had taught herself a skill most of his employees struggled with. Something about that moment struck him, not just her talent, but her humility, her strength hidden under a plain uniform. "Come see me at my office tomorrow," James finally said, handing her his business card. His friends were still in shock, whispering among themselves, but James's eyes were serious now. "I wasn't joking when I said I'd give you my salary. If you can prove to me you have this level of skill in more than one language, I don't just owe you a paycheck, I might owe you a job." Emily hesitated. She thought it was just another rich man's joke. But the next morning, after a sleepless night, she showed up at the glittering glass building with trembling hands, ready to face him. James welcomed her into his office and tested her in different languages, French, Spanish, even a bit of Japanese. To his growing amazement, Emily translated each one. She wasn't perfect, but her understanding and passion were undeniable. By the end of the meeting, James leaned back and said, "Emily, People like you are why I built this company. Talent hidden in unexpected places. You don't need to be in a restaurant carrying trays. You need to be in rooms where your mind can shine. And just like that, the CEO who once laughed at her offered her a position as his personal interpreter and later enrolled her in a scholarship program his company funded. Emily's life transformed overnight, and not because she asked for pity, but because she proved her worth when no one expected her to. Months later, Emily stood on a stage at a company conference, introducing the CEO in multiple languages to a global audience. The same man who once mocked her now looked at her with pride, not just as an employee but as someone who had reminded him never to underestimate anyone. Her story became a quiet legend in the company, a reminder that brilliance doesn't always wear a suit, and sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones carrying trays, waiting for someone to give them a chance. So the next time you look at someone and think you know their story, remember Emily, the waitress who stunned a CEO, translated his words in seconds, and proved that talent can rise from the unlikeliest of places.